Ilene. How you doing,
Casey
Ilene?
Dash. That cracked me up.
Oh, all right,
God.
Ilene.
So what's the question? What is the exact question?
Who should be the totally driven person of the week? Who was a person that did good, very inspirational? Not the Stacey Dash Award of the week.
It has to be from the Oscars or just anybody.
Anybody.
Well, I'm going to vote for Dion. Remember Dion who did Run Around Sue?
Yeah, Dion and the Belmonts.
Well,
Dion's got a great album out called, I don't know the name of the album, but I heard a song called Aces Up My Sleeve on the R&B station in the car, and I flipped. I just love this wonderful old guy. I think he's just incredible. So he's my vote for the week. Everybody should get this album. He's got a song on it with really nice song with Paul Simon, and it's a very funky album. So he gets he gets my vote.
He gets your vote. Okay.
He gets. But I just want to, I think Eddie Murphy was. I think it was really awful that Eddie Murphy didn't win many, many years ago for Dreamgirls. I thought he was incredible, and he did his own singing in it, and I thought it was an amazing performance, and I thought he really got rooked. So it's from many years ago, but
oh, yeah, I remember that. I
it.
actually was in the audience that night. I attended the awards that night, and
really?
He stormed out of the Oscars after. He was so upset and didn't stay for the rest of the show. And there was a lot of politics. This is kind of an interesting story that you just brought up. There was a lot of politics surrounding that. He was expected to win, and one of the studios did release Norbit. Remember Norbit, like one of his catsuit comedy movies? And it kind of reminded the Academy, like, oh, yeah, he's not really a serious actor. He does all these, like, crazy lowbrow comedies. And a lot of people did not vote for him because of that.
Wow.
Even though he was nominated for Dreamgirls, which had nothing to do with Norbit. But
wow, because I thought I felt awful. I don't even know the dude, but I just thought it was a great performance. Spectacular, really. He did his own, did his own singing in it, and it was it was great. It was a great role, and I thought he got rooked. It happened.
He did, and it happens, and there's so many politics that play into it that you just have to, during campaign season, you can't do anything wrong. You want any movie of yours that's going to be released to just, don't have them release Norbit, like have them release another dramatic film. But it's really crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he had no control over that whatsoever. Most of the time, you don't have a whole lot of control. You don't have a whole lot of control over the voters. The studio does. It's how much publicity they can get out, and it's tough. It's tough.
It is tough. It's not easy at all, but a great performance. I agree.
Back to Mark Rylance, he's an amazing actor, so it's not like a not a good actor, got the Oscar. I kind of thought Sylvester Stallone was going to win, and I wasn't really sure that I thought that was the best performance, but for sentimental reasons, I'm sure a lot of people wanted him to get that. I mean, he did a lovely job in the film, but
yeah, and Mark Rylance is fantastic, and they were neck and neck throughout the award show season. So I think that's also important to, they kind of split half and half with all the award shows, and then Mark came out on top on Oscar night. So you just never know.
Yeah, listen, I think it's wonderful if you can get nominated. It's better to win, I suppose. For a woman, when a woman wins, sometimes some very strange things, like their career it's like that ride up. The roles are so much better sometimes that once you win the Oscar, I think particularly with Halle Berry.
Charlize Theron is someone that has had some bumps in the road. She's had a good year this year, but some bumps in the road after her Oscar win. It's tougher. It is tougher.
Because after you win the Oscar, it's just for certain women, there just aren't the roles that are as interesting as the role they just won for. I mean, Monsters Ball was amazing for Halle Berry. It was just fabulous. And then then you see her doing Catwoman or whatever, and you go, well,
follow-up.
Yeah. So it's crazy, and you make decisions based on a lot of all of a sudden your big payoff comes with Catwoman. They're offering you like $10 million, and what do? You say you say no.
You take it.
Yeah. So hard to know. Hard to know.
Indeed, it is.
Hard to know.
Yeah, but I fell asleep during part of the Oscars. There somewhere in there I fell. My boyfriend and I just fell like right out. It was like we didn't remember anything that happened. We woke up, I guess, in time for the big awards at the end. But I was really curious to see who would win the documentary because that's always a category that I'm really interested in.
I love documentaries.
My best friend has been nominated for 2 Academy Awards for documentary filmmaking, and it's always a very difficult category because all the films are good. There ain't a slacker in the bunch.
Right.
So true. Well, you guys, I have to run just because I have a meeting, but so I'm like, I just have to. We could talk Oscars for another 2 hours, I bet. So many controversies.
Oh, too funny. All right, well, we'll talk to you next week then. I guess have fun.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Kristen. All right, that's Kristen Burt. You can find her all over social media, KRISTYNBURTT. And let's officially welcome our guest. Miss Ilene Kristen is here. She's in the house, and she's ready to talk. And maybe even sing for us, too.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I have an album out called I'm Not Done With You Yet. And instead of my singing, I really, if people are really curious, they really should buy it. It's on Amazon and iTunes. It's good.
I'll tell you what, I was listening to it today. I was enjoying it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I liked it.
Anyway.
It's not my usual cup of tea, but I liked it.
Oh, okay. What's your usual cup of tea?
I'm usually like a hard rock type of guy. Hard rock metal stuff. But I listen to everything.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, well, for those of you out there who aren't hard rock, this is jazz rock. So
this is jazz rock.
People who like things like Steely Dan or Ricky Lee Jones or Little Bonnie Raitt. It's more up that alley.
But I did an investigation of you. I did see you used to play in a rock band at one point.
I've played in many.
How about that?
Many. And I have my own. I have my own band now, but I've been in one rock band or another. I was with a Brazilian batucada band, which is mostly percussion.
Okay.
And I played percussion with them. This was back in the 80s, and I wrote for them. And I've done a lot of singing with a lot of different groups. So
see, now I didn't even know until when we talked a few weeks ago that you were singing. I mean, did you ever get to sing on any of the shows over the years?
Yes, of course. Oh yeah, a lot actually. Yeah, I sang on Ryan's Hope, and I sang on Loving, and I sang quite a bit on One Life to Live. And I just recently sang on General Hospital. They had me do an arrangement that my brother-in-law, Mike Hoffman, who's with an amazing band called Bad Haggis. It's just extraordinary band. It's rock with bagpipes, and
oh, cool.
Oh no, it's great. It's just amazing. Eric Rigler, who played all the bagpipe stuff on Titanic, he's in the band, and my brother-in-law, Mike Hoffman, who's an incredible guitar player. So I like to give them a plug. It's called Bad Haggis, and some of the songs have a Latin feel. Some of them have a very Celtic kind of rock. It's great. Great band.
Cool.
Anyway, I work with Mike on a version of Danny Boy that was on General Hospital.
Nice. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, it was really we produced it ourselves, and it was used in a montage on General Hospital. It was great.
Now, did you start out singing or did you start out acting?
Well, I started off actually as a dancer when I was 15. Actually, my first professional job was as a dancer in like a playground scene on a television show called Bell Telephone Hour, which was a very well-known variety show. And the host of that particular show, it was the Thanksgiving special, and Robert Young, who was Father Knows Best, was the host. And Carol Lawrence, who was in the Broadway version of West Side Story, was in it. And it was just this variety hour, and I was I was 14 years old, and I was a dancer. And then I ended up working with Michael Bennett, who later on went on to do Chorus Line. But I did his second Broadway show with him as a dancer. And then I ended up working for him in a variety of things for the next 4 years. But I was also doing a lot of comedy and a lot of musical comedy stuff. So I really started off in the musical end and was in the original Company of Grease. So
that I did see.
Yeah. So my background really was musical, I would suppose. Yeah.
Now, when the movie was coming out for Grease, did you try to get a part in that?
No, it's funny because I ran into John Travolta. He was shooting Saturday Night Fever on the street that I was living on 76th Street, and John and I were good friends from the Broadway version of Grease. He came in for like a year to do the role of Duty, not Danny, but the goofy guy, Duty, who sang Magic Changes. But now John had become this big star, and so I went and I sat in his trailer, and we talked about the movie that was coming up, and he said, "Oh, they've cut the part of Patty down quite a bit. I don't really know if you'd be interested." And I said, "Quite on." And at that time, I was doing Ryan's Hope, so I was playing the bad girl on that, and I really preferred playing like the bad girls are playing the goody two shoes.
Right.
and I thought if I did, I could have gone in and gotten that movie. I could have gone in and gotten it. I'm pretty sure I would have gotten it because Pat Birch was doing the choreography, and yeah, I'm pretty sure but I didn't even try to because I didn't really want to play that character.
Wow.
Actually.
So did you ever think it would have exploded into what it did?
Well, John was so fabulous. John was just great. Saturday Night Fever was so huge. And I didn't know that Grease would become as big as it did because I didn't think it was. I didn't think the movie was great. I thought it was good.
Right.
But I thought John is so wonderful that, I guess it makes sense that it was a huge hit. I still think my decision might have been right. I don't know. Although, it's very interesting when they just did the TV version of it. Did you see that?
Okay. I did not see it, but I saw like the first 2 minutes of it. We were actually doing a show that night.
Oh, well, it was really interesting, and the role of Patty was kind of expanded. It was very interesting to see. They took a lot of license with they kind of combined the movie and the show.
Okay.
I mean, what's incredibly shocking is that Grease has had this incredible life. That's what's shocking, because when we were in previews, we thought we were in a dud. My father saw the second preview and went home and told my mother that I was in a flop.
Oh, that's funny.
A flop. He said, "Oh God," because the show that I had done when I was 15 years old was supposed to be a big hit, the Michael Bennett show. It was called Henry, Sweet Henry, and it was based on this movie of the world of Henry Orient, and that was supposed to be a big success, and that flopped. So when my father saw Grease and he compared it to Henry, Sweet Henry, which he thought was really good, and then he saw Grease, which he thought was really bad. We hadn't found our way yet on the second preview.
Wow. Now, going over to Ryan's Hope real quick, you were saying how you played the bad girl. A cousin of mine, now I haven't even seen this cousin in probably 30 years, he was on Ryan's Hope for, I think only a couple episodes, but he was a kid at the time, and he played a part, like, I think maybe he was, like, missing or kidnapped or something, and then he appeared, and he was on the show so many times. I just remember the one scene, like his first scene.
What's
like
his name?
His first name is Scott. I don't even know his last name. He was a little blonde-haired kid.
That very well may be. I don't offhand. I don't remember. I mean, there were, there was the kid that played my son, but then there were occasionally other kids on the show, little other storylines that would come up. How old was he?
At the time, probably 7, 8 maybe.
And do you know what year that was? Because Ryan's Hope stretched over a 14-year period. And I wasn't on all those 14 years.
I'm going to take a guess and say late 70s, early 80s.
Well, I was there late 70s, that's for sure. Part of the early 80s I missed out and came back on the show in 82 for a year and a half, and then left the show and then was back on in 87. So it's I'm sure he was on it, but offhand, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. So, and you just said like you had left Ryan's Hope for a little bit, and I read you went to L.A. to try to pursue some other things.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was actually singing. I was actually singing in a couple of bands, and I was writing a lot of music out there. But I ended up doing a couple of things. I worked with Treat Williams, who I had done Grease with, and I did a movie with Treat called Why Would I Lie, and I did a movie called The Lady in Red with what was her name? It was an interesting. My scene was with Christopher Lloyd from Taxi and from Back to the Future.
Right.
I had a very interesting little scene with him, and I did an episode of Family, and I did a lot of theater out there. But L.A. was weird. It was a weird place. Kind of a weird place. I'm used to sidewalks and walking a lot, and you're very isolated in L.A. to some degree.
Yeah. That's funny.
So,
yeah. People seem to say the same thing about L.A. now. It's weird. Holly weird.
Yeah. I have to say that I love the weather when you go out there in the middle of the winter and it's 10 degrees here and it's 78 there, it's very tempting.
Although with this
very
winter,
tempting.
There's been times we've been warmer here than them.
No, I don't think so. No, I was out there. I mean, I was just out there. They had a couple of cold days, but generally speaking, it's been. I mean, we lucked out here because December was warm, November was warm, December, January was warm, but I don't think it was warmer than LA. I wish it was. Not so sure.
No, you had said when you went to LA, you're writing some music and playing in a rock band. Were you trying, like, at any point, did you want to make music your full-time career?
No, but I wanted to do comedy. I mean, that's really where I was trained. I wanted to do a sitcom. That's what I wanted to do, and do the rock and roll on the side.
Right.
Probably it would have been smarter for me to do more music out there because it's really odd. There seemed to be this thing going on out there that people who were doing music ended up doing acting. It was,
right.
And there I was, an actress, and not getting the roles that I should get and losing them sometimes to people who were rock people, which was odd,
Yeah, that's weird.
But, yeah. I auditioned for everything out there, and it just wasn't my time, or my
but
city.
But then you came back. You came back to New York.
I got a job on One Life to Live, unbeknownst to the people at Ryan's Hope, and when they found out I was on One Life to Live, they freaked out. They had me fired.
Whoa.
And then the next thing I knew, I was back on Ryan's Hope.
Wow.
They had me fired. But it worked out fine. I mean, I should have been back on Ryan's Hope, but, it was crazy. Because I was fired.
It's like
I was fired. I was brought into the office at One Life to Live. I was fired. And I was, like, so in shock because I had never been fired from anything. And it was, like, no explanation, no nothing. It was like, this job doesn't exist anymore for you, basically. And then the next day I got a call from the producer, the producer of Ryan's Hope.
That's funny. That's some wild stuff.
It was weird.
It was definitely sounded. Now something weird too. Like you ended up going back to One Life to Live later on, and now let me see if I got this right because I was reading this, and it said you got nominated for Emmy 2 years in a row in 2004 and 2005.
Yes.
But then it said like they made your character a recurring character.
Yes. I mean, I worked as if I was on contract. They hired me a lot. I mean, yes, they took me off a contract. No, I can't explain that. I don't understand that. I was one of the most popular characters on that show. I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain half the things that ABC did over, particularly also about canceling One Life to Live. But I think a lot of that had to do with Brian Franz. I think my being taken off a contract had to do with Brian Franz also, who was the head of daytime at that time.
And what is he doing now?
Nothing, I hope.
So like
that's all I'll say about that.
Well, daytime was this huge thing for how many years? 40, 50 years, and it's no more. Like, I mean, there's just General Hospital now.
That's right. That's right.
It just doesn't seem right.
No, it's weird. I think ABC made a huge mistake. They lost a lot of ratings because it had a brand. I mean, people would turn their television on to watch All My Children, All My Children, One Life to Live. and General Hospital. And they just kept it right on the dial. So
right.
But, television has changed a lot because, also you could DVR something, and also because they had SoapNet, you could watch it at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
And, it was the last 10 years of whatever that whole thing was were fabulous in a way to give the audience SoapNet, which we assumed that SoapNet was going to be, if they were going to take the shows off the air, they were going to move them onto SoapNet. And SoapNet was going to become this new channel.
Right.
But Brian had a way of fucking that up, too. Excuse my language. He took it away. Deborah Blackwell had started, a wonderful woman had started SoapNet, Deborah Blackwell. And somehow he got her out of running that network. How does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know how he managed to micromanage everything to its detriment.
Wow.
So
yeah,
I don't know
what
happened.
Up for everybody.
Yeah. A lot of people lost their jobs between All My Children and One Life to Live. That's hundreds of people. Hundreds of people.
And, Susan Lucci, what is she doing nowadays?
Susan has been doing Vicious, what is it called?
Devious Maids.
Devious Maids.
Oh, okay.
I think she's doing it, which I love to do that show. I know the creator of that, Mark Cherry, who used to watch me on Ryan's Hope, but he hasn't given me a job yet. He idolizes Susan. I was in a room with the two of them at a big party, and Mark Cherry just he idolizes Susan. I was kind of invisible that night. I don't know how I could be invisible, but I was.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
Now, how about
my goal is to still do a comedy show. That's my goal, is to do like a sitcom show, but a funny one, a good one, It's still my goal. I haven't made that happen yet. I've done everything else but what I set out to do.
Yeah, you got to do it. Come on.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're trying. And how about now with the explosion of a Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that? Do you think it would be successful for one of them to revive those shows? I mean, they're getting huge.
I do actually. I actually do. I think it would. But I did not do the online version of One Life to Live.
Right.
I didn't do that, and that was a disaster. I just think Prospect Park, the company that was producing it, did not know what they were in for. When you do 5 shows a week, basically, it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And they did not have the ammunition ready to roll out that kind of project.
Wow.
I mean, these things for Netflix, they don't produce something that's a daily soap opera.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It can be done.
It can be. It
could be, but it almost would make sense if they did a 2-hour movie a week or something.
Right.
Or an hour-long type of movie episode, an hour-long episode, maybe just once a week.
Interesting. Do you think soap actors never get the proper respect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've always felt that way.
Yes. Sure. Listen, not everybody on a soap is great. I've seen some pretty bad acting, but on a soap I have. But I've seen some great stuff, and the work that goes into doing a soap, nobody knows how hard it is. I'll never forget Peter Weller. You know who Peter Weller is? He was RoboCop.
Okay.
Peter was on Ryan's Hope, and just doing a couple of days on Ryan's Hope, and he walked over to me. He was sweating, and he said, "Ilene, I don't know how you do this. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't know what I'm doing." It's hard.
I can imagine.
It's hard.
It's a lot of
it
hours
really is.
to do five shows a week.
Well, the way we were, a lot of I wasn't working 5 days a week, but what we were doing was, if you had how it had changed was, you started taping in the morning, and if you had scenes during the week that took place in a particular set, they would sometimes take three days worth of shows that took place in, Bo Buchanan's living room, and you'd have to do all those scenes one after the other, even if it's 3 different shows.
Right.
You'd start at 9:30 in the morning, and you'd do 18 scenes, and some of them would be, we call them drive-bys, and they'd be 2 pages, blah 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 blah. Then it would be the next scene, but it was very difficult. Very difficult because you had no context for it in a lot of ways.
Right.
It was very. People don't understand how difficult it is. General Hospital was very difficult to do because they gave you no time, and I'm used to rehearsing a lot with people who want to rehearse. But when I did General Hospital, the only person that seemed to want to rehearse was Maura West. And they shall remain nameless, but boy, I worked with some people who just didn't want to rehearse, or you couldn't find them to rehearse.
That's even weirder.
It's terrible. It's first of all, you're getting paid well. You should rehearse. It looks better when you rehearse. You don't want to have the words on your mind so much. You want to have the emotion on your mind. But if you can't get those words out and repeat them, we used to love to rehearse on One Life to Live. People rehearsed all day long.
By the
time you got on the set, the words were secondary,
Right.
But on General Hospital, it was never like that. It was seriously, I'm going on stage, and I haven't run these with the people that I'm working with.
Wow.
I've run them with myself. I would hire somebody to work with me the day before, but it's completely different when you get out with the real actor that you're working with.
Right.
Scary.
It is. That's wild.
That's scary. And it's not acting to me is fun.
Right.
I became an actor because I thought it was the most fun that you could have. Get paid for doing something that you love so much.
Sure.
But it's really scary when you I have this recurring nightmare that I go out on stage, because I do a lot of stage things. I go out on stage and nobody has rehearsed with me. And I can't find my way up to the stage. I'm in my dressing room somewhere, but it's this labyrinth, this maze to get to the stage. And the whole time I'm in this labyrinth, I haven't run this. I haven't run this scene. I'm going out on stage and I haven't run the scene. And it's a recurring dream that I have, and it's horrible. So horrible. Well, it makes me scared. I mean, I just did a play. I just did a play back in October, and I had that dream all while I was doing this play, and I really rehearsed this thing. So it wasn't like this play I actually rehearsed, but I still had that awful gnawing feeling from doing General Hospital that I was walking in on stage without knowing what I was doing.
So General Hospital is haunting you.
In a way, yeah. And it was great. I mean, the people there are lovely. Frank runs a good ship, Frank Valentini. He's an excellent producer. But it's just a different mindset. You know, a lot of the people have not done stage work, and
do you think
they're
that's
looking
a
at
big
their
difference?
clock. And I do. I mean, I came from the stage, so I just like to rehearse.
Right.
I love to rehearse. I'm not even going to say I like to rehearse. I love to rehearse. I love to rehearse.
Wow.
But some people don't like to. Because, you know, and it's not like I do what I'm going to do for the, you know, when we're actually filming it. I just love to hear the lines back and forth, like a ping pong. But a lot of people don't want to do it.
Now, do you get to ad-lib a lot in that, or do you guys stick strictly to the script?
Well, you know, I'm known for ad-libbing because I'm good at it. I've been very lucky in that if I felt the dialogue wasn't right, I've changed it, and you know, they've never told me not to.
Oh, well, that's good.
I don't know if writers are so appreciative of that, but I think for the most part they are, because I'm good. I'm an excellent rewriter. I don't know if I could write this shit from scratch, but I know how to change it.
That was going to be my next question. Could you write shows?
Not sure. I can rewrite it. You could give me the worst soap opera script, the worst, and I could rewrite it because I would know what the framework is, and I could rewrite the dialogue. Whether I could come up with the actual situations, I probably could. But I'm a little lazy in that area. What I do know is I know how people speak.
Did you ever think about pursuing that, maybe, or
no?
No.
I think I'd rather direct than. Although directing a soap has gotten really ridiculously hard. My boyfriend directed soaps.
Okay.
And it's hard. It's a lot of work, and especially the way we started shooting them, because a director never could have his stamp on. You know, it used to be that he directed every scene in an episode, and then it changed around so that different directors were doing different scenes depending on what day they worked. So if you wanted, as a director, if you wanted to have one of your shows nominated for an Emmy, it was really hard to find one that had, you know, that had most of your work in it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's changed a lot.
But there's something that you do like to write, and that's music.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and I'm good at it. I'm and I'm not inspired all the time, but when I am, I'm good. I'm good
now,
at it.
Now, the album, is this your first album, your first official release, or
yes.
Why'd you wait so long?
I didn't have an album full of songs. I've been writing most of my life, but I didn't have something that I felt was cohesive enough to put out as an album. Also, I met somebody, Scott Yanni, who produced it. It just was a natural fit, and it was so easy. I went to his house in Brooklyn, and we worked on it for 6 months. And we wrote songs together, and it was just a natural partnership.
Now, the album's called I'm Not Done With You Yet. Is there anybody in particular that you're not done with, or does it have a meaning behind it? At the time
that I wrote that song, there was definitely somebody that I just couldn't shake them, you know. I tried to, but I just couldn't. It was like this pesky mosquito that just kept on coming back into my life.
Is that the same person you wrote the song No Matter What is about?
No.
That's somebody else, huh?
It's not. No. There are very specific people that I wrote all these songs for.
That's very interesting.
Oh, No Matter What was a nasty little song I wrote. Oh, God. For...
That sounds like a hell of a story there.
Oh, yeah, there's a great story there. But the wonderful thing is that guy is married to a really good friend of mine. Years later, he met, you know, it really, he's still a friend of mine.
That's funny.
Actually, it was what was going on in my life, that particular song, No Matter What was going on in my life, but my co-writer on that, a wonderful writer, Kenny Mazer, said to me, Ilene, you're on a soap opera. And, you know, I've watched your soap opera, and you're always having affairs with married men and this and that. So I took a situation that was going on, and then I enlarged upon it. I kind of exaggerated it. Because he said, what are the stakes in this song? And so the stakes were about this married man that I was just not going to give up. And so it wasn't exactly that, but close. It was close.
Yeah, because I'm listening to the lyrics, and I'm just like, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, is she going to go there? Is she going to go? She went there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and as I said, he's still a friend of mine, you know, and and his wife has heard that song too. So, you know, but there's an inspiration for what?
Do they know it's about him?
I believe she knows it's about him, but they weren't together at the time, so that puts me in the clear. That puts me way in the clear.
Oh, too funny. Well, actually, there's another song, and I have that one. I'm going to cue it up. I'm going to play for everybody before I end up letting you go, and that's Flesh and Blood, because I just thought it was just a really beautiful song.
Thank you. That song originally was written for Nancy Addison, who I did Ryan's Hope with. Nancy had cancer, and I knew somehow that I was going to be singing at her funeral, but then what happened was 9/11 happened.
Oh, okay.
So the song really became about 9/11. I walked past my the firehouse in my neighborhood, you know, the day after, and there were flowers and candles, and I just stood there, and all the words, whatever words I hadn't come up with, they all came to me.
Wow. Right
there. So, and I've sung that at many occasions, and I've sung it at many funerals, actually.
Wow. Well, it's a beautiful song.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, for the rest of the year, what do you have lined up for the rest of the year now? You're going to be doing?
Well, next week I'm doing a reading of a play, and it's a little bare-boned, the play, so it's going to be quite interesting getting up on stage. We're just doing a reading of it, and but it's not quite completely written, so that'll be interesting. And I'm going to be doing some music gigs.
Nice.
And I don't know. Life is a big question mark, although tonight this woman came over with this very funny play that she wrote for me and one of my closest friends, my friend Doris. And you put Doris and I in a room together, or you put us on a stage together, and you'll get some great laughs out of it. And she got so inspired when she had lunch with us several months ago that she wrote this play, and it's really funny. We just read the first half of it, and we were hysterical. So I'm going to work on that.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. It's very comedic.
Very cool.
And very funny. So we'll see.
Cool.
I'd like another television gig.
Absolutely.
If anybody out there can give me a television gig, I would very much appreciate it. Hopefully in a comedy.
I was just say, preferably in a sitcom, but she will do soap operas as well.
Yes, I will do soap operas. I know how to weather, a soap opera. I actually love soaps because you really can create a character that gets into, under the skin of an audience, and I love the audience, and nothing really does that. The dedication that soap fans have, I don't know if there's any other medium that, gets that kind of fan love.
Yeah, that's true.
So I miss that.
So, all right. So, where can everybody get the album at?
On iTunes or Amazon.
And it's called
I'm
Not
Done With
You Yet.
Yeah.
There you go. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun, and we got to do this again.
I'd love to. Anytime.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know where to find you now. So
yeah.
I'll be in touch, or you get in touch with me, and we'll do it again.
Fantastic.
Ilene, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a pleasure. This is fun.
Cool. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Great.
And everybody, here is Flesh and Blood from Ilene.
Thank you so much for playing. I appreciate it. You're